again. My name is Joe Griffith. I'm one of the coaches for Team 4085, Technical Difficulties, from Reynoldsburg, Ohio, just east of Columbus. Today we're going to talk about project management. Specifically, our team uses a modified version of Agile. I don't want to call it Agile because I don't think it's officially that. But we've taken the lessons that we've seen from Agile and tried to implement them as best as we can in our team. So I'm going to stop talking here in a moment. Pass it over to my brilliant students who I have here. Our Chief Project Manager, Elena Dragonette. Next to her is Aaron Bryan, our Business Lead. You can wait if you want. And then our two electrical leads, Dylan Davis and Arlo Pettigene. They're going to walk you through how we organize our team, how we organize our goals, and what we want to do as we go. Before we get going, we try to make this as interactive as possible. So with your team or with your neighbor, whichever you choose, talk for a second about, does your team set goals? And if they do, how does your team currently create and manage those goals? If you don't, talk about, have you ever thought about setting goals, or maybe you do and you don't think about it? Take a few minutes, talk to your neighbors about, does your team set goals? And if you do, how do you manage it right now?
I think don't manage them. Just make a point to set goals. As far as how we manage them, it seems like we have these groups on the team who don't necessarily understand the goals that are going on. So we make the goals as a group, and then not everybody understands the goals going forward.
Thanks. Let's go back here.
Well, you picked a bunch of rookies back here. So I was just talking about how I structured my team. I structured it with an overall mentor to be in charge of the whole process, and then I have separate coaches for a drive team coach, a build coach, a mechanical build coach, an electrical system build coach, and a software coach. And then I'm assigning students under those coaches to have cross-disciplinary skills. That way I can keep everything moving. My experience in the past is bottlenecked. It points along the robot, so I want to be able to move things along in parallel so we have enough time to train our drivers on the systems.
Over here, this was.
What we do is, like, at the start of each day, each group will come together and say what they need to do. We'll write them on the board, check off as we go. If we don't finish it during that day, we might stay afterwards, or we'll finish it up before the next meeting if it's possible to do on, like, computers, programming, or work like that.
It's like a daily goal list.
Yeah, but during, like, build season, we'll usually have an overview of, like, what we need to get done during this week, or whatever. Does that sound?
Yeah, I think we definitely set up goals at the beginning of build season that we work towards. We prioritize the goals in terms of what we want our robot to accomplish. And then in the off season, we also make choices in terms of what foundational skills we want to build for the team and try to prioritize those. I think our growth area as a team is probably in project management. We tend to get to the end of the build season and are working very late and cramming, much harder than we probably need to if we had better project management.
Thanks. And then this last group right here.
So last year was the first year we really tried to implement some kind of sound project management. So we based ours off of the NASA Systems Engineering Handbook. And so we set a schedule such that, we had a Gantt chart of everything, of, at least fairly high level stuff. So we knew what days we needed to have our requirements reviews. We had a preliminary design review and critical design reviews. And of course those dates slipped a little bit. We did have some problems with setting our requirements in stone, which kind of delayed the design, but, you know, that's what we're working on. And I guess scouting's a little bit different. They work closely with us for about the first week or so on what we actually want to have scouted. But we do an all electronic scouting system, so they've got their own schedules that they set as well. So what do you?
And I can speak to that. We use a modified version of Agile to try to do it totally formally is a little much. We used Visual Studio Online to benchmark our sprints, and we have a meeting every Saturday to go through what's got accomplished and what we need to do for next week. And then we set priorities as far, from a scouting standpoint. These are the gotta-haves, these are the nice-to-haves, and these are the wish list items. So we try to knock those out as we can get through them.
So we all have something.
So like I said earlier, my name's Lane Dragonette, and I'm the Chief Project Manager of Team 4085. So I'm in charge of making sure that things are getting done basically on time, and making sure that we're getting towards our end goal that we all need accomplished. So just kind of a general overview of creating goals for your team. You want to make sure that you're setting and creating realistic goals. I mean, like maybe completing your robot by week 5, going for special awards. I mean, you can obviously have your goals that you're like, this might be a reach, but might as well go for it. Last year we put Worlds as one of our goals, and we got to Worlds. So, we didn't really expect that to happen, but it happened. So, never know what might actually happen. And so the overall goals that you create are accomplished by the many tasks with your sub-teams, so mechanical, electrical. They're all working together to help get towards those overall goals that your team makes each week. And so we create our goals and our schedule for the season before build season actually starts, before kickoff, because we may not know what this year's game's going to be, but we know what we need to build a successful robot for the year. So we need a shooter most of the time. Usually every year you have a shooter. Every year you need autonomous coding and a drivetrain. So we go through and we schedule out when we want to get those specific things done, because even though we don't know what the robot has to be, what it's going to look like, we know what our general time management frame is going to be for the year from past years. Oh, with your team, sorry, you can try and create your big goals for the season. So if that's trying to go for chairman's, or like I said, completing your robot in week 5, or building a second robot, just work with your small groups and kind of try and decide what big goals you want for the season. So you can take a couple minutes.
So, it was, Worlds with one of them, maybe 2 robots, definitely, so we could work on that. Communicate, scouting, get scouting data, started, working before, the first week of build season, or second maybe.
Succession plans.
Yeah, succession plans, because we have a lot of seniors this year who are really good, and we need to train the freshmen and sophomores to take their place when they're gone. Is there anything else, or is that most of it? Yeah.
I like that one about succession, because we have a huge group of seniors this year, so we want to be able to do the same thing for our freshmen. So that's a cool idea. In the back.
Well, my plan to set goals is to work with my mechanical engineer and my other engineers to figure out a realistic timeline to put the robot together. I'm planning approximately 3 days for a design, a concept through sketch, so that we can start with the drivetrain build while we're CADing the systems, to have everything done 2 weeks to 10 days prior to tag, so we can train our drivers and have a really competitive season. That's my very rough goal setting outline.
So our goal for the past couple of years is to be on Einstein, but haven't got there in a few years. But our big goals this year are we got to win Miami Valley. I'd like to win Chairman's and EI or EI. We'd like to do well at Midwest, considering how competitive it is. We'd like to do really well there. And as far as our robot build goes, we'd like to solidify our requirements a lot earlier, because a sliding requirement this year on deciding whether to go under the low bar killed us in our schedule. So we'd like to solidify those a bit better.
And we actually have a whole scouting effort that is almost like a whole nother sub-team within our team. Big goal for this year is to double the number of teams that use our scouting application. We had 13 teams. Thank you for some of you guys that used it last year. We had 13 this year. We'd like to double that next year for this coming season.
Those are awesome goals, yeah. And back over there.
So one of them is have a complete robot at the first regional. Kind of one that goes along with that is a consistent, reliable autonomous mode by week 4 of build season. And then a flexible one is stay organized. It's really broad, but sometimes it's a problem. Losing tools, losing code.
Those are all really, really good goals, and actually gave me some ideas that we could probably work on too. So as we go into this presentation, you'll see how these big goals break into the tasks of the sub-teams and how to complete those. So I'm going to pass off to Aaron now, and he's going to talk about the sub-teams.
Okay, so like I said earlier, I'm Aaron Bryan. I'm the business manager for Team 45, so I deal with like marketing and finances and all that fun stuff. Something super important, and we pride ourselves definitely on doing this, is student-led organization. The importance of having your students step up and be those leaders, because first is for them, not necessarily for the mentors or the coaches. So, and students aren't necessarily going to learn if everyone is doing it for them and not necessarily, them doing it themselves. So, students should have the opportunity to create the goals themselves, and then your coach intervenes only when necessary. So we, at the beginning of our season, the leads come together, we schedule our meetings, and we decide what goals need to be done and how to accomplish them. And then at the end of all of our meetings, we come together and then we show what work has been done and what we have left to do. So, and they're called shout-out boards, where we're just like, oh, this person did this today, so, and it keeps them motivated and keeps going. So. Okay, so setting goals goes a lot deeper than just your leads. It goes into your team structure overall. So having an organized team structure is super important. It helps to distribute from the big goals into task and sub-team goals. So something important is that your students should definitely feel comfortable in their role. So if a student came up to me and was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this, can I do something else? Like, obviously that's realistic, and it may not always happen, but if that happens, then I need to address that and move them to another area. These roles should be very well defined. Everyone should know what they were doing that day, and if they don't accomplish it that day, then they need to know that they need to get it done the next day or however long it takes. So they can spend their time on the specific roles placed upon them. So here is how our team structure is laid out. So we have our chief project manager, Elena, who oversees all of the work done, make sure everyone's on task, and then we have our hardware team, which is split up into our mechanical leads and electrical leads. We have our marketing lead, which I'm the business lead, and then we have an outreach lead, which deals with like the community efforts and stuff like that. And then we have our software lead. And below the leads are the hardware members, business members, outreach members, software members, and then we have our safety team. And something super important is that the members need to know that they're not below the leads, but they're just a different role that's taking place. So that the leads can work with the members in unison. And one way that we know that this definitely works is when we won the Spirit Award at Buckeye Regional last year. It wasn't just one section that got us there. It wasn't our loud cheering at Buckeye Regional. The three things they said we did best was our project board, which Dylan will talk about soon, our community binder, which was our community efforts, and when we lost a wheel during a competition, we came back from it, got the wheel on quick, and kept going. So when we lost the wheel, that was clearly the hardware team who got it back on track. When our community efforts was clearly the marketing team. The software team obviously had stuff to do with the wheel losing as well. So when we all came back, we knew that our Spirit Award was thanks to all of our efforts together. So we have our team goals, and they are distributed between each sub-team so that they know what they're doing each time. And then at the end of every meeting, to recap, we come together and show what everyone has done.
Yes, question.
Yeah.
How big is your team?
So we have 54 students yearly. We don't add necessarily on to that number, so we have applications. And,
Any other questions?
How do we get that many students?
So our school is actually a STEM school, so there's an interest level rise in robotics, but we have 2,000 people in our district, and so we have to market a lot to people to want to join. You definitely have to market. You want to show that, wow, your team is something. If your team isn't known by your community, then if you're gone, then it doesn't matter. So then you need to, everyone needs to know that you're a strong team and the community should back you. Like when we got to Worlds, we were not necessarily expecting it, so our community came together and raised our funds for us, and so it was awesome. And we knew that we meant something to our community, which is awesome.
We like to go out to public events too. We like to go to elementary schools because we don't necessarily have a lot of FLL or FTC teams in our district. So we like to go to elementary schools and middle schools and junior highs to say this is an option when you get to high school. So they become very interested in that.
So working student-led and being on the project management, I was curious what any tools you might use to track what you need to do every day. Is it more just whiteboarding or
Yes.
a Excel spreadsheet?
So Dylan's going to be talking about the project board itself, but yeah, we have a project board, which, like I said, was one of the main reasons we won this beer award, and it is super detailed. He'll show you a picture. We have one for preseason and build season. It goes chronologically. It has I don't know, Dylan will talk more about that.
Questions?
So we have another your turn. So how does your team structure compare to our team structure? And how can your big goals be broken into sub-team goals based on what you said?
So at the top, we have the team captain, who is he does all the main management, and he's arguably one of the most important members of the entire group. So there's the leads under that of each of different categories for team working. That's safety, there's build lead, there's business lead, programming lead, marketing lead. So those are the main categories and there are also sub leads below that for purposes that aren't as really important as marketing, or they're still equally important, especially during the build season. So the sub leads, for example, are pit boss lead, a strategy lead, and scouting lead. And below that is the members. So members fall under any of the groups, build, programming, marketing, business, and the side groups is safety, pit boss, strategy, and scouting. So you can be part of multiple groups at the same time too.
Okay. All right, and then over there.
That's all
they're
one.
all one. Okay, we'll go back there then.
How we structure our teams is we have at most 13 students, maybe 12 right now. So we're at a much younger level than you guys are as far as the developmental process. So as the lead mentor, I've been talking to my engineers and other mentors about how to break things up into building blocks of learning instruction to provide the tools to do what you're doing to our students. But we're going to be much more hands-on mentoring than what you guys are. For
I mean, that's definitely understandable as a rookie team or a lower level team and having a lot of members. Okay.
In our group, we discussed how on our team we have loosely defined categories, so it's mechanical, controls, and marketing mainly. But on our team, a lot of our members kind of move freely throughout the groups and work on projects they're interested in at the time, which works really well because in our team we all see each other as equals and we're all really good friends, and it works really well like that. The one part where that kind of falls apart for us is when we have new members, trying to get them to come in and replacing our seniors and such. And so we really want to focus on this season, one of our goals being making sure our students do more and our mentors do less, and then making sure every person like internally has a defined goal of what they want to do, even if that doesn't involve very structured, because I feel like it works well for us. We just need to make sure every student knows their goal.
So for us, we have a much smaller team. I think we have about 20 or so people, including mentors. But fortunately, we do have a decent number of mentors that are very like diverse in our skills. So we've got most of our bases covered there. So we stick a mentor on each sub team, and a lot of our students end up doing multiple things. Since the software people are integrating with all the electronics, it's fairly natural for them to be doing like a lot of the electronics hookups and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how we manage a lot smaller team. And as far as how our big goals filter down, basically we take our high-level goals, like such as winning the regional. Those filter down into strategic objectives. Those will filter down into requirements for, okay, so our strategy team will say, yeah, we need to be able to score, 5 balls this match. And so that'll filter down into our mechanical team that, we can decide how fast does our robot need to go. So that's kind of how that filters down from those high-level requirements. That's what we do.
So I have a question for the group. We've kicked around using some project management software, but budget is a huge concern for us being a new rookie team. There isn't a whole lot of plays in there, so we're looking for something free or nearly free online, like Google Drive application or an Android app that has that. Do you guys have any recommendations for that stuff?
Yeah, so if you're looking at like making scheduling type stuff, like trying to schedule multiple teams of people doing tasks at the same time, so we use Microsoft Project, but I get a huge discount, from working at the base. I get it for like $10 or something. But there is some software, I think it's called Ganter, that plugs into Google Drive. So you can save your Gantt charts on Google Drive, and other people should be able to access it.
Ganter?
Yeah, Gantter, I think is the name of it.
What do you guys use?
Yeah, so we use, for scheduling purposes, we use Charms, which is Office.
It's just a website.
Yeah, and for like micromanaging, we use Trello. It's a good app that you can like put one major goal and then split it up and color code and everything. It's pretty good.
Trello, like CH?
TR.
TR.
Yeah.
Our software team heavily used it last year because you can assign people and like with their profiles individually to each task, so you can see who's working on which task. So you need to go to them to check up on them, you know exactly who's doing it, and also they checks it off when you complete it. And there's the big one, there's a bunch of mini goals to complete that. So like with autonomous coding, our software we put in like code autonomous for low bar, code autonomous for this, and so people are assigned each subject, and then they're able to check it all off when they're done and see who's working on each individual autonomous code.
Can't mention with Trello, it's nice because we have like Excel spreadsheets for project management with Gantt charts, but that's at each individual laptop. But with Trello, it's online, so everybody has access to it. And you go and see what they're doing and almost use it as a project management tool and see the tracking of what needs to be done and for each individual. And you can get alerts through email as well.
Yeah, it's also really good to use like Excel, or not Excel, but Google Sheets, and share it with your team. So we used to use like Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that, but almost everything we're doing now, at least for team-wise stuff, is on like Google Sheets and Google Drive stuff, and we just share it with our whole team.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it off to Dylan. He's going to talk about our project board and stuff.
All right, so hi, I'm Dylan. I am one of the electrical leads. Now I want to start off with a show of hands. So who here has ever started a project without doing any of the pre-planning for it? Right, a lot of us. I do it too. It doesn't end up well. How about for you guys? Did it end up well? I saw your hand first. How'd it end up?
It went okay, but it didn't go as well as I hoped.
Kind of stressful and
Yeah.
not very fun, right? Can everyone agree on that one? It's been stressful and not fun. So that is why we came up with our project management board. Now, a project management board is very organized, but it still looks really nice. So we start off with our big goals that we talked about before. Like we said, ours was going to Worlds. We wanted to get the Industrial Design Award, and Chairman's Award is a big goal of ours. So we always make sure to include our big goals in our board so we know to assign our tasks in order to make the big goals possible. So we also split it up into what teams we have. So like our mechanical team, our electrical team, software, etc. So the goals would be implemented within the groups that we talked about in the team structure that Aaron talked about for a bit. And then we will go on to our tasks. Now these are the post-it notes. These are what need to be accomplished in order to get our big goals done. So for instance, one of the electrical goals might be to wire out the electrical board. Mechanical might be to build a chassis. So we would put a post-it note on a certain square depending on when we would want it done. Now we do it in chronological order, so it also kind of works as a timeline. So we can see like, okay, on week 1 we should have task A done. Now, these tasks aren't necessarily written in stone. They can be changed. They can be done early, which is awesome, because getting things done early as quickly as possible is a great thing. Or, but let's say something happened. Let's say a piece of the code went missing all of a sudden. So then part of programming stuff can't be done on that week. So you can always move your post-it note down to the next week, but that task has to be your priority for that week. And then you can move on to your actual plan. So, yeah.
Is your color coding more team-based or project-based?
Well, our color coding is actually team-based, so our marketing team uses all red post-it notes. Our electrical team uses all yellow post-it notes, that type of thing.
Marketing on this board is split up. We did a new thing by splitting marketing into business and outreach this year, so business is,
Business is blue.
business is blue and outreach is red.
How do you handle it when you have cross-pollination between teams? Like you've got a project that 2 teams need to work on together.
So we'll use the same color, of course. We'll put it on both of them. Like, let's say electrical mechanical, because they go pretty hand in hand quite a bit. So then, for both week 3, we both have the same goal that needs to be completed, and then that helps us know like we need to be integrating during this week very, very heavily in order to get things done.
Yeah, and we talked about that a lot during our league meeting. Like, obviously, marketing split into 2, but they're still very close together. So me and the outreach lead will talk about when we need collaboration meetings and what needs to be done during those meetings, and the same for electrical and mechanical.
All right, so making a project board is pretty difficult to do from scratch. I mean, where are you going to start? This is why I came up with the 5M method, starting with make it organized. You can't have a project board that has like tasks, like a mixture of tasks and goals all fused in like one box. That's going to be confusing to look at. It's not going to be very pretty. So if you make it organized, like having all the tasks in a specific place, like we have our categories. Like all the mechanical tasks go under the mechanical column, which is great. But that doesn't mean don't be creative with your board. Make it colorful. Make it in the shape of a teddy bear. I don't know. But you can't have just like a plain black and white board because people are going to look at it and they're not going to be excited when they see it. They're going to be like, oh, it's black and white. No one wants to deal with that. But make it your own. So you need to make it realistic. Like Elena talked before, goals should be realistic. Don't say you want the robot done in a week. That would be fantastic, right? Having the robot done in 1 week so you can do all the testing. That's not realistic. Do not put a goal like that for like week 1. Make sure you have your goals in a chronological time frame. So like I recommend making a timeline of what you want done and then assigning your tasks. So you do need to make it flexible because like I said before, things happen. Code decides not to work, talons decide to fry sometimes, like we said, wheels fall off sometimes. Yeah. So, so make it flexible. You don't want to have every day written in stone because the world doesn't work that way. So So make sure you have enough time in case something does go wrong to fix it in a timely and orderly manner. So you do want to make it for the right goals. This happens quite frequently because you have like a ton of goals in your head. You're like, I want to make sure the robot has, maybe let's say I want it to be blue, I want the electrical system to be brand new, super organized, go to world. You have all these goals in your head, so sometimes you almost make your task for all the goals, but you need to pick your specific goal and make the task for that goal. And you can, let's say you have like multiple goals, you can make multiple project boards. You don't just have to have one for the entire team. Multiple project boards is a very good way to keep all of your goals separate. And, of course, make it simple. You don't want a super complex board that's crazy and weirdly written and stuff. I like to imagine that the President of the United States is going to look at our board. Now, if he ever does look at your board, please call me, because that would be a really awesome thing to hear. But like, if he was to look at your board, he should be able to see what has been done, what needs to be done, and he needs to be able to read it, of course. So making sure that you write it how anyone would see it. Like, don't do what I do when I like take notes. I will like go halfway in a word and then put a picture, and no one will understand what that is. Don't do that. So, as your group, oh, sorry.
So kind of how you got buy-in from using the board? Was it more the team leads were responsible so that they keep it updated? How do you keep the whole team actually using it?
So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Great question.
Yeah. So that'll come up in
Try it
just a
once,
little bit.
but just getting everybody to actually make sure they use it, that's the challenge.
Right, that'll, Marla's actually going to talk about that kind of stuff. But essentially we just have like a meeting next thing. So, as your group, you are going to make a kind of...
We're running out of time, so let's skip that part.
Let's skip that part.
All right, going back to your question. So, for our meetings, I mean, this might not work as well if you don't have as many people, but we try to have like a pre-lead meeting. So it's just us lead members. So there's some of us. Y'all look so happy to be there. It was a very early morning. But we go and we look at our project board and we go through what we have done and what still needs to be done so that we can look at the tasks that we can do after we get these tasks completed. So we go over what we're going to be doing today in these little league meetings so that, you know, we all know what we're going to be doing that day. And then all of us leads, once all the members of our team arrive, we have a meeting and we explain all the tasks that we're going to be doing today. So the entire team knows what, you know, all the teams are going to be doing so that everybody knows, hey, we're working on the robot, we're, you know, getting our budget completed, we're, you know, getting the code finalized for the robot, so everybody knows that, you know, what stage the robot's in. And if people have questions at the end, our members can, you know, ask questions or ask for clarification on, you know, how long this is going to take. And then after that, we break into our sub-teams. So this is some of electrical right there. And we go, and then we break down our task for the day. Let's say we needed to put, you know, motor controllers on the robot. So then as our sub-team, we would, you know, take our task and be like, to each individual person, you need to do this for, you know, you need to go get all the mounting hardware for the electrical component. You need to make sure that all the electrical connections are prepped. Another person needs to go get the hardware, and so that way everybody can go together and, you know, do their individual piece, which builds up into the bigger goal of, hey, we want, you know, our electrical board all neat and organized. So we take, you know, our big goal, and then that becomes an individual task, which then, as a sub-team, is broken into individual tasks for each person or small groups of 2 to 3 people. Which, that's a brief summary of what our meetings look like. And then in the end, we have the entire team come back together so that we can mark off what is completed that day or for that week. And we inform the team of, problems, or, people come up with concerns and, express concerns or express ideas. And as Aaron was saying, the shout outs and for the entire team, that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions?
So we have our contact information up there. If you have more information or more questions, and then we'll take questions here for just a moment. My contact information, my email there. Coaches that want to talk, fortunately, we only do have 5 minutes left. We're going to have you guys build mini project boards yourself. We have some stuff here for that. Are there any questions for me for the leads or myself as we get along? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I noticed you mentioned you have a large population in your team. Are all the students actively involved, or would you say there's a certain percent of them that are more involved than others?
No, we definitely make sure that every student is actively involved. I know for my personal organization, I make sure that each week every person has something to do, because I don't want people to be left out, and everyone should be learning and working on something else. And even if they don't have a project, they can examine other sub-teams, or, yeah, they should be working on something every time.
I like to create busy work, because obviously there are times where we have a big mechanical team, and not every, like we have like 20 something kids on our mechanical team, not 20 people can be working on the robot at the same exact time, obviously. So we like to give busy work like building fabrication parts for the field or anything like that, or going even to work with electrical to learn new things from them, or going to help out marketing if they need any help with anything. We want to make sure everyone's doing something so they're not wasting their time in the engineering.
So to follow up on another question, kind of similar kind of thing though, is how on your board do you reflect dependencies? Because if one team slips and there's a dependent that maybe is the next week, do you just move them down, or how do you reflect that dependency?
I mean, that happens. We've had it happen before. Maybe software, they don't usually come into working on the actual robot, so mechanical finishes the robot. So definitely it's a lot of waiting for them, and we just have to make sure that either we come in for extra days, the mechanical can get their work done, so that software can work on autonomous, because I know they need a lot of time to work on autonomous work. So we just have to be flexible with adding extra days or bringing more people in to work on things for extra days. So.
And along with that flexibility, the movement of the post-its, that's why we do everything on the post-its for the board, is for the ability to say, okay, program is clearly not going to get to autonomous during this week because the shooting mechanism is not quite ready. So we'll move that down, and we also move things up weeks too. One thing's being delayed, but there's something that's perhaps independent of another task, we'll move that up and make that a priority.
Yeah, one of the things that we run into a lot are the collisions of, I've got to put something on the robot. Well, you can't right now because somebody else is doing something with the physical robot. You know, to your example of, I need to mount the motor controllers. Well, you can't do it right now because we're mounting the shooter today. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we historically run into.
And that has come out in the lead meeting a lot. That's why we always do a pre and post build meeting with the leads, so we can get to where can we organize? Do we need to add an extra day? Do we need to resort our goals and priorities for the next week or next week?
So do those collisions come out in that pre-meeting that you have to say, this is what we need to do today? Well, you can't because I'm doing that. Do something else? Is that what really that pre-meeting is all about, to sort of coordinate for the day?
Yeah. We do our pre-meetings on Saturdays, so it's like the end of each week for us. So we can say, okay, we still have these goals left to get that we want to get done this week, so let's make sure we heavily focus on that. And we kind of try to plan out like, oh, so can we get the robots made? Like, oh, I think we'll be done like before lunch or whatever, so that they can make sure they're planning ahead. Like, okay, we're gonna be getting a robot after lunch, so we can get ready for that.
Great, thank you.
Just one more point. The thing that I don't think was shown very well here, along with talking about Trello. Trello is primarily used by the sub-teams to distribute their tasks. And we've also experimented with just mini project boards within. So that's really where our day-to-day hourly, like how many hours do you need with the robot? Okay, so you'll get it for 2 hours, and then we're going to reassess and make sure you're ready to pass this off to electrical, pass it off to programming, or such things. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. What is your like schedule like during build season? And does like everyone come in every day? Like does everyone on every sub team come in? Or are there like some days where like your electrical guys won't come in to kind of help alleviate the stresses of the season?
We meet, I believe it's 4 days throughout the week. We meet like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then we're there all day Saturday. And so usually at the beginning of build season, everyone's there because everyone's really excited. And also we like to include everyone on the brainstorm process, like everyone, Mark can say, oh, I don't have a huge robot. Like, no, but who knows what good ideas might come from someone who's not directly involved with the robot. So definitely everyone's there because they're really excited to be there. And then towards the end of build season, sometimes if we really don't need like the whole mechanical team, like there's just too many people, let's just bring in a group of 5 to work on this particular project. Then we'll do that.
Also, how do you guys handle like team communication? We're kind of messing around like with testing out Slack for our team. How do you guys communicate?
So we have a couple forms. We have Charms, which sends out like major updates. It's an office program, and then we have group chats where we have like one for the league, one for the team, and one for like mentors, where we can like send out easy information of like this is the schedule change or something, So
The group chat, we usually have group meetings. So even if a student doesn't have a smartphone for the app, they can still receive text messages through the app and then respond to them.
What was the name of that?
Group Me.
Group me? Oh, I'm on that.
Yeah, just Group Me. We also experimented with something called Remind 101. Not so great because people can't communicate back, but it does send a text message out, so regardless of your technology, you get something. It's more of a one-way communication.
Okay. So would you like use that for, hey, we've got like 3 feet of snow on the ground, we're not going to need to. That's how you're.
and even at like competition, we can be like, we need this person down at the pit right now, and it's an easy form of communication.
And Charms is good for mass emails because everyone puts their email in at the beginning of build season. We put their parents' emails in too, so we can.
And there's a calendar.
Yeah, there's a calendar in our meetings. So we say it's on black and saying, hey, we're not used to it. Hey, we need these people.
Yeah, it's time to be done.
So if you have any other questions, please feel free to come on up, and as we're cleaning up, we'd be happy to take them. Thanks for being here.
Great job.